1. We should be live any minute now, and we are live. Welcome to the Crypto Factor. Welcome to another show, and today I have a special guest, one of my favorite guests, a personal friend, someone I look up to and learn so much from, and that would be Tone Vays. Tone, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it, man.
Hey, Paul, thanks for doing another interview with me. It's good seeing you.
Yeah, it's good seeing you. And we go back. We met at Decentralized. We were on stage together. After I wrote the book and interviewed you on the Crypto Factor, we met in Athens, Greece. We were on stage talking blockchain marketing. It was a lot of fun. There you go. And he's got a book right there.
Yeah, I'm in the book. I'm in the book.
And your interview was amazing. I learned so much. It was actually very. There you go.
I can't see it.
Well, here I'll put the banner up a second. I'll put there you go, guys. If you should be able to see, or let me know if you can see the banner, because I'm not even sure this works, to be honest with you, but we'll see. Yeah, it does work, because I can see it in the chat. So yeah, yep. So super excited. We're going to be talking about Bitcoin. We're going to be talking about trading Bitcoin, because Tone Vays is a Bitcoin expert. He's a speaker. He's a technical analyst. He does charts, and he was in Wall Street. He was a derivatives and option trader, which brought that technical skill, if you will, to crypto, along with being, of course, a Bitcoin spokesperson, should I call it? Ambassador, should I call it? Lover, should I call it? It depends. But all your trading questions, Tone, everybody here wants to know about trading. We talk about trading a little bit on this channel, but I wanted to bring you on because I keep on talking about you. I keep on telling people to go watch your videos to learn from you. And that's why we are here today. So, if anybody wants to see Tone's interview, by the way, it's down below in the links. You can watch it after this video. Tone, man, what's going on with Bitcoin right now? What are we seeing? Tone, let us know, because everyone here is either worrying or worrying.
Worrying is good. Worrying is what's eventually going to bottom the market out. And I am looking for a bottom in the price this summer. We're going to kick this off with the overall price, because everyone just wants to hear about the price. Mm-hmm. It's really great what's happening with Bitcoin from a technological perspective. Taproot, which is a nice upgrade to Bitcoin's scalability and privacy, has been approved, and that should enter the code in November. So that would make transactions a little bit more private, a little bit faster, a little bit cheaper. So everything becomes better once the Taproot code starts to be utilized. In the meantime, the price, got a little bit overheated earlier this year. We went up quite a bit from a year ago today. Exactly a year ago today, I think the price is pretty flat. But if you go a little bit, for the year, the price is almost flat. If you go a year back, the price has gone up quite a bit. Last August or last July, we were sitting under $10,000. And today we're sitting at $33,000. So you're still up 3 times your money from 1 year ago. Granted, it's not as good as 6 times your money like it was 3 or 4 months ago. But we'll get there. I think the bottom in the price is coming this summer. It's possible it already happened a few weeks ago with the $28,000 price, but it's too early to say that it did. The charts tell me that there is a slightly greater than a 50% probability that we're going to see a slightly lower low sometime in July, maybe August. And then it should be, nice clear skies for a new Bitcoin all-time high going into next year.
Nice. And maybe you can show us some charts as well, so people can see some charts and see how you analyze. Maybe do that live if you feel like it. Do you feel like it?
You would have to grant me screen share permissions in Zoom.
See, Tone's already teaching me things about screenshot. I didn't even know how to do that. All right, so give me a second. Multiple participants can share simultaneously. And let me know so I can. I also have this Stream Deck here, which I can put different graphics up and everything. So let me take off this, and there you go. It's working.
So
wow.
That should be working. So this is my overall big picture chart. And on the big picture chart, it's not looking all that great at the moment, but my absolute worst case scenario is about $20,000. So I don't think it'll go lower than that.
And you have your own indicators, by the way. You have your own MRI, I think it's called. That I remember you working on it when I was working with you.
Yeah, that's correct. The MRI is one of my indicators, and at the moment, across the daily and the weekly chart, it's not being very positive. It's a little bit on the bearish side of the equation. So this is another reason why I'm a little bit concerned myself for the near-term future, and that the prices have not yet found their bottom. But I still believe from a more fundamental perspective, from the bigger picture, from what's happening, that the prices will find the bottom very, very soon. But like I was just saying, my weekly chart is still not bullish. It's more of a neutral territory. And my daily chart is slightly more bearish than bullish for now. I can see us having this a crash similar to what happened in March of 2020, though not as severe, and price recovering fairly quickly and starting on its path towards 100,000 this fall.
Yeah, and there is a theory out there that if we were, or maybe not a theory, but there is a train of thought that since everybody thought we were going to 100,000, even if we've topped at 65,000, everybody thought we were going to go to 100,000 and go down 85% would be 25,000. So if we topped at 65,000, maybe we won't reach all the way down to 25,000 retrace. Maybe it's a 60% drop or 65% drop instead of an 85% drop. Not sure if you agree with that or not, but it's something I heard and I didn't know what to think.
Yeah, so I always thought that we would top before we're hitting 100,000. On this entire way up earlier this year, that started last year, originally I was only thinking about 45,000, then I raised it to 55, then I raised it to 65, and then at around 65, I ended up raising it to 75. I was clearly wrong about that last one, but I always thought that we would top way before 100K. Because it seemed like a little too much.
Too easy.
And I envisioned the current bull market to take the shape more of what happened in 2013, where we made that big top in around March, and then we spent about 6 months going down, and then we had one more blow-off top in November, December.
So are you bullish right now, or are you bearish? And you can't see the screen, but I got my little puppy.
I am bullish on the current cycle. I still think we're gonna break 100,000 this bullish cycle, and I think this bullish cycle will end before. It could go into 2023, but it will probably end towards the end of 2022. So I'm bullish on the cycle, but for the next few weeks, and especially the next few days, I am leaning bearish.
Right, and just for people to know, Tone was one of the few people to call the top of the 2017 bull run. I remember that. Maybe not exact, but you knew exactly where to get. Technically, I think it was a perfect call. I was a bit more late than you were. I didn't want to believe you, but that was just me being all happy about it going up to forever at the time.
But yeah, everyone thinks it's gonna go up forever. Nobody wants to admit it. Even I tend to make these calls a little bit late. So in the 2018 bull market cycle, or 2017 top, the 2017 top came in the middle of December. I called the bear market going into the second week of January. So I was technically 3 weeks late, but I still did it at a price of Bitcoin above $15,000, while people still didn't want to believe it. And at the time, I said that my most bullish target was going down to only $5,000.
Yeah.
So that was my bullish target. We crushed that. We went down to 3,000, which was my okay target. That was my normal 3,000 is a good bottom target. But I also had my most pessimistic target, which was all the way down below 2,000. This was like $1,500 to $1,800 was my ultimate worst case scenario pessimistic target.
Based on hyperwave. I remember it was based on hyperwave.
Along with hyperwave, which was actually a little bit lower than my target. And the way we were hovering around that $3,000 zone, I put that $1,500 to $1,800 target. I mean, at that time, when we're already at 3,000, I'm like, well, you have to really consider that possibility. And that's when people finally started taking me seriously. Like, no one took me seriously when I was saying 3,000 from 15,000, but everyone started taking me seriously when you're saying, yeah, we can definitely go under 2,000 from 3,000. And that's why people are so upset.
Well, I remember the hate you got, man. I remember.
and I was bearish all the way until March 2020. So I was a bear for 2 years and 2 months. But I've been bullish since that day, since March 12th or March 13th, whichever day we had the big COVID crash in the stock market and Bitcoin. Since those days, I've been bullish on the price of Bitcoin, and this is just a short-term little drop.
What are you drinking, Tone? Ivan on tech always ask what are people drinking. I always ask them what they're eating, but what are you drinking? Curiosity.
I'm drinking tea, so I usually drink tea. I do drink coffee sometimes, but I don't like any addictive substances. So with coffee, what happens is I get a really nice caffeine boost when I drink coffee because I don't normally drink coffee. So I save my coffee drinking for when I need the caffeine boost. So whenever I don't need the caffeine boost, I stick to tea.
Nice, excellent. I've got people already asking questions here. I'll go one of my own real quick, though, before we start. What do you personally think of the Wyckoff accumulation? I know you heard this all the time. It's everywhere. I know it's annoying, but bear with my audience. Bear with me. What do you think of the Wyckoff accumulation? Do you believe in it? Are you positive in it? Are you kind of positive on it?
So I recently interviewed a friend of mine who's also a technical analyst, and he informed me that there's actually 2 different versions of the Wyckoff accumulation. And you can catch that interview. It was with Phil. And so that was news to me as well. So I'm not a fan of the Wyckoff distribution for 2 reasons. One is similar as to why I'm not a fan of the head and shoulders pattern. And the other one is similar to why I'm not a fan of the Elliott wave trading system, is because it has too many moving parts. I prefer my technical analysis to be A, simpler, and B, not backwards fitting. So what that means is if a pattern has too many moving parts, then you think it's something and then it doesn't do that something, and then more time goes by and you're like, well, now it's looking like it again. So and this is one of the reasons why I hate Elliott wave, is because if you think that there's an Elliott wave pattern and then you didn't look at that chart for 6 months and then you go back to that time frame, it's going to have a completely different Elliott wave pattern on it, because it's always backward fitting. Every new data changes your perspective on the history of that data. And the Wyckoff distribution has a similar
it's very similar,
retrofitting situation. They always look perfect in hindsight, but but I don't think they ever look perfect as they're happening. And just like with head and shoulders, it has a few too many moving parts, because to me, if it's a head and shoulders, it's also possible that it's a cup and handle, which has one less part. Or is just a matter of, well, it's lower highs and lower lows, which is a much simpler pattern. So that's one of the. So those are the 2 reasons why these kinds of tools are not in my toolkit. I like moving averages. I like just looking at candlestick patterns. I like chart patterns like triangles. I think those are a lot simpler. They have less moving parts. They basically just use 2 trend lines. One is horizontal. It's really hard to alter your horizontal trend line. Either the horizontal makes sense or it doesn't. The slanted trend line, you have a little bit of a leeway there, but having a little bit of a leeway in one horizontal line is better than having the same leeway in one slanted line is better than having leeway in two slanted lines, which is what wedges are, which is also why I'm not a big fan of wedges. So I like to stick to the simpler chart patterns, which are pretty much triangles and cups and handles, maybe pennants or flags, and that's about it. Of course, the candlestick themselves, like I love the doji candles, shooting stars, and hammers, and also things like moving averages.
Engulfing.
Yep, exactly. Engulfings as well, though not as much as the shooting stars, hammers, and dojis. And the MRI, of course, but the main reason why I like the MRI, besides the fact that if there is an MRI signal on a specific candle, that signal will stay on top of that candle tomorrow, next week, next month. I can go to a candle from 10 years ago, and if it had an MRI sell signal on that candle, it'll still be there. Unless the data changed, right? If the underlying data has changed, then yes, it can move. But if the underlying data has not changed and the candle looks exactly the same as it did back then, the signal will be there. It doesn't retroactively alter the history to make the indicator look better. And that one is time-based, while everything else is price-based. So that's another thing. People that watch me and learn trading or trading techniques from me, the biggest takeaway that I want them to have is that there are two elements to trading. There's price and there's time. The way you trade could be different. Some people are short-term traders, some are long-term traders. Some people like to trade with options, some with futures, some with just buying the underlying asset with zero leverage. All that stuff. Some people like to trade current FX, some people like to trade stocks, some people like to trade cryptocurrencies. Those are all, your personal preference. But when it comes to identifying a trade, there's price and there's time. And most people only learn about the price. Where's the price going? Where's the price going? But few people try to focus on time. Well, how long is it going to be moving up, right? So a price doubling in one day means one thing. A price doubling in a year means something else. So there's always price and time. And I try to focus on both price and time. Of course, if you try to estimate where the price is going and then how much time it takes to get there, you have two potential things to be wrong about. So it obviously gives the trolls more ammo, but as a trader, you gotta be conscious of the time. And if we look at the bigger picture, the reason why I was bearish in 2019, that was the thing. In 2018, we went all the way from $19,000 in mid-December of 2017 to $3,000 in December of 2018. And while my price target was certainly hit, like the $3,000 low was more than enough of a price pain. My problem with calling that the ultimate bottom for the bear market was that it did not give you enough time pain. The price pain was plenty. The time pain wasn't. 12 months was not enough time pain for a true Bitcoin bear market. Now, in 2019, we went all the way up to $14,000. Now, I should probably do screen share while I'm talking about this, so we'll just make it look cleaner. I'm gonna grab the weekly chart so you can see it, and I could actually drop, I don't need any of those annotations. This is the triangle style that I'm talking about. This giant triangle was scaring me for about 3 to 6 months. And no one wanted to believe the fact that we can drop through the bottom of that triangle, the drop we did, because I remember talking about this for a while. So I'm going to drop all of these annotations because, oh wait, I just dropped one. How do you drop everything? Oh no, I did drop everything. It's just that these things have to be dropped on their own.
They're confusing, man. I always get them mixed up myself. It's
Okay. So here's what I mean by price and time. While this price target of dropping from 20,000 to 3,000 was certainly painful price-wise.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that it wasn't enough pain in terms of time. So while I was bullish on the initial run up to $4,000-$5,000 in 2019, I was very, very skeptical of, maintaining above a $10,000 price once we broke that area in the summer of 2019. And I was a big bear on the market all through this drop in the second half of 2019. And I was still a little bit skeptical on this rise in early 2020.
Yeah.
When the crash occurred in March of 2020, we did not fall as low as 3,000, but we fell pretty damn close down to 3,800. But now, when you couple some more short-term price pain with the overall time pain of 117 weeks, that's 819 days. That's over 2 years at 365 days a year. Now, when you look at all this time pain, the $3,000 price pain of being here, and again here was enough for me to say the bear market has ended. So once again, it was both price and time. And now I feel that we have not had enough time of the bull market, and this price is not high enough to end the bull market. So now I am a bull on the market for two reasons, price and time. I feel that we did not spend enough time going up, and we also didn't rise high enough for a usual Bitcoin bull market. Those were the big differences, right? Same thing here. Now, the initial price pain was plenty, going from $1,200 to $150 was definitely enough price pain, perhaps not enough time pain. But once again, we needed a little more time. A little more time was needed. We ended up with one more price pain point, but we didn't have to. So this consolidation could have been just enough. And right now, in this mini bear market, I think we've had enough price and time pain combined. It's just that the chart pattern itself is making me a little bit nervous that we have maybe a month or two more before the bull market resumes.
Got you. So let's get into some questions, man, because I'm getting people here asking questions. I'm gonna make sure I can answer a few of them. Escanor says, according to some experts, or as they claim, experts on stock to flow model, Bitcoin should be 83,000 and now 135,000 by the end of the year. He thinks it's going to go down lower. Do you agree?
So the stock to flow model is like your worst possible tool for short-term price views. It's really a long-term look. So the stock to flow model basically measures the average price. It shows you where like the average price should be, but more like over a year span or a rolling year. So utilizing price to flow, even for monthly investment decisions, is probably not a good idea. But the stock to flow, here's where the stock to flow model is really shines, is that it tells you whether the current price of Bitcoin is generally overpriced or underpriced on a scale if you want to start putting money for your kids' college education. And on that scale, stock to flow tells you that Bitcoin is a little bit underpriced. It's underpriced by maybe half. Bitcoin can double in price in a matter of weeks. So while today the stock to flow is saying that Bitcoin is underpriced, if there is some kind of black swan event, and I have several I can name, that can shoot the price of Bitcoin to $500,000 by the end of the year, the stock to flow model will tell you that Bitcoin is probably a little bit overpriced at that time, probably by about half. by about maybe by about 2/3. Okay, so you shouldn't be using stock to flow for anything other than your dollar cost average decisions. So at the moment, you can use stock to flow and say, you know what? Maybe instead of putting $500 a week or $500 a month into Bitcoin, I should make it 1,000. And if the price of Bitcoin is above the stock to flow model, maybe I should be putting, you know, a little bit less than what I normally do to dollar cost average because it's going to probably come back to the mean. So, I mean, that's the best way to use stock to flow for trading purposes. That model isn't designed for trading. It's designed for you believing and understanding what makes Bitcoin so valuable into the future.
That is one of the best explanations and best ways, things I've ever heard on stock to flow, by the way. Thank you. I appreciate that. See, I love learning from you, man. I never thought of that. I never thought of stock to flow like that. It's not a religion, guys. It's not a religion. Everything's used differently. Subskills is asking, what are your predictions for Bitcoin this month?
Well, this month, I believe we're going to find that bottom or come close to it, right? So instead of saying this month, I'm going to take 5 weeks from today, right? So I want to give myself 2 weeks into August. And I believe by August 15th, we will know, we will never know, but I will have confidence in assuming the bottom is in. Now, that bottom could have been the first day of the summer, June 21st, when the price of Bitcoin hit $28,000, or it'll be at some point lower than that. But I believe by the middle of August, we will probably be at current or above current prices. But we will have confidence that the bottom is in. For example, if the price of Bitcoin stays above $30,000, but below $35,000 for the next 6 weeks or the next 5 weeks, I will be confident that enough time of consolidation has pissed enough people off that they are frustrated to the point of not believing when Bitcoin starts to rise that it's actually going to keep rising. So we can correct through time or we can correct through price. Either Bitcoin could be boring as hell for the next 5 to 6 weeks, or we're going to fall sometime later this month, establish a low in the $25,000 area, rise off that low very quickly, where, you know, if you were partying and you took a nice 14-hour nap, you might miss your opportunity to buy Bitcoin below 28,000, and next thing you know, it's back above 30. So I think it'll fall, it'll bounce back quickly, it'll probably consolidate back above 30,000, but at that point, I will be saying, you know what, I think Bitcoin has bottomed, and now it's going to go up from this area, while other people that are still disbelieving the fact that Bitcoin could go to 25,000, they're going to be throwing in the towel, they're going to be getting upset that Bitcoin can fall again, and they're going to be telling me that I'm wrong, and that's kind of how prices rise. Like the stock market, for example, keeps rising. The stock market has just made a new all-time high, and people have been screaming that the stock market is in a bubble and it's going to crash and it's never going to come back. And they've been saying that since the day I was born. And yet the market continues to rise to new all-time highs because a lot of people don't realize that the stock market also rises because governments continue to print money. There's 2 reasons why the stock market continues to rise and is always going up and to the right. One of those is inflation. It's the same thing that makes Bitcoin rise, yet it's not what makes gold rise because gold has too much speculation involved. And for all the people that want to speculate and buy gold because of government printing, there's more and more people born every day that couldn't care less that gold exists. So there's just not enough speculators in gold to make it keep going up and to the right. It's not manipulation. It's just people don't care. Meanwhile, the stock market has one more great factor going for it, and that factor is innovation. People continue to discount the fact that the Dow Jones, which is only 30 companies, so they don't change often, but the S&P 500 is 500 companies. And when some of those companies start to not perform, like Blockbuster, they leave. And when new innovative companies start to perform, like Netflix, they enter. You know, Tesla has recently entered the S&P 500, and by entering the S&P 500, they kicked something out. They kicked out the company that wasn't performing. Now, ironically, that company has actually outperformed Tesla, I believe, for some crazy reason. It was just like a random like occurrence where the people that manage the S&P probably screwed up and kicked out the wrong company. But the way it's supposed to work is companies that don't have much of a future leave. Companies that have a future enter. And this is how Bitcoin is in the S&P 500 already, between Tesla and MicroStrategies, which hold great amounts of Bitcoin. Those companies are in the S&P. More companies will enter the S&P that are holding Bitcoin on their balance sheets. And this is why the stock market will continue to be correlated with Bitcoin. And this is why the stock market keeps going up and to the right. Now you can time some of these stops when they get a little overvalued, when there are certain political environments, when there are certain, other instances like the housing bubble, the tech bubble. Sure, that's going to happen, but the stock market always tends to recover and go up because of the companies innovating inside the S&P 500. So Bitcoin's no different. Bitcoin will find the bottom, hopefully sooner than later, and start to go up.
That was great, man. I got another one. G-Rock is asking, does GBTC have anything to do with price being down at the moment? And please give a like for Tone Vays taking the time to do this for us. Please hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed already, check out some more videos and subscribe if you like them, but make sure you check out his channel after this. So I know you're into GBTC, Tone, so I think there's a question right up your alley.
GBTC actually has a lot to do with it, but let me explain. So here's how GBTC works. This is the GBTC ticker, and the gray line you see is the GBTC premium. So the way GBTC works is Grayscale, the company that manages GBTC, the tradable ticker, which is the American de facto ETF. The US stock market doesn't have an ETF on Bitcoin. So GBTC is the closest thing Americans have to invest in, similar to GLD for gold, SLV for silver, and SPY for the S&P 500. So GBTC is our closest thing, but the way it works is people buy into the Bitcoin trust from Grayscale. They give Grayscale money. Grayscale goes out and buys the Bitcoin on their behalf, and it puts it in their cold storage. 6 months go by, and you are allowed to sell the Bitcoin that they purchased for you, but they don't actually sell the Bitcoin. You can convert your Bitcoin that they're holding into these GBTC shares and then sell it to people on the stock market as GBTC shares. I am one of those buyers of the GBTC shares because it allows me to have exposure to Bitcoin in my retirement accounts tax-free. So for the prior several years, there was not enough GBTC shares to go around. So when people were purchasing these GBTC shares to get exposure to Bitcoin on a traditional stock market, and with not enough GBTC shares to go around, the premium on those shares was constantly above zero, and it basically ranged between 15% all the way as high as 40%. Back in 2017, this premium hit 100% because there wasn't enough, there was more demand for GBTC shares than there were GBTC shares. That allowed certain companies and certain people that saw this and said, hey, we should dump a lot of money into Grayscale, let them buy all that Bitcoin, we wait 6 months, and then we sell our Bitcoin at a 20 to 30% premium, take the money, immediately put it back to Grayscale so they can buy Bitcoin at spot price. We wait 6 months, and then we sell it again for profit. So they were literally making 20, 30% on these trades on top, and they were in Bitcoin the whole time. And this is why in 2020, especially the second half of 2020, Grayscale was buying twice as much Bitcoin as was being mined every single day. They were buying like 2,000 Bitcoin a day on the open market, while there was only 1,000 Bitcoin a day being mined. That helped drive the price of Bitcoin higher. But what happened in 2021 was all these people that bought so much Bitcoin throughout 2020 started converting them into GBTC shares and selling them. And now the supply of GBTC shares was greater than demand for GBTC shares. And that sent the premium into negative territory. This is how everything balances out and why you don't get to print money forever, perpetual, like no such thing as free money. And when that happened, why would anyone else give Grayscale any money? So you will see that as of early 2021, when that premium started trending towards zero, no one, Grayscale has not been buying any Bitcoin on the open market. So all this buying that helped drive the price higher went away. And now the miners are still mining. They're, 1,000 Bitcoin a day or whatever. I mean, you can count it, right? 6 Bitcoin per block, a block every 10 minutes, 6 blocks an hour, even though it kind of slowed down because of China, right? So, so what do we got? About 60 Bitcoin per hour, 60 Bitcoin times 24 hours. So 6 times 24, right? So that's about 1,500 Bitcoin a day or whatever. Okay, quick math in your head. And Grayscale hasn't bought any of it. So that, of course, helps keep the price. It's not helping. They're not the only factor. Remember, it wasn't only Grayscale that was driving the price, but it was a contributing factor. And until this premium goes back above zero, I don't see many people buying into the Grayscale trust. But meanwhile, there is another 6-month lockup ending, but I don't believe many people are going to be selling their GBTC shares at a loss. Because what are you going to do with that money if you want to keep your exposure to Bitcoin now that it's dropped 50%? And there's not going to be any future GBTC shares being created because no one has bought any Bitcoin. Grayscale hasn't bought any new Bitcoin to create more shares. So that's the effect that GBTC has been having on the market. And for now, since they're not buying, there's not enough demand on mined Bitcoin to drive the price high. But that's going to change, hopefully, this summer.
Awesome. So I got some really interesting questions coming up now, Tom. Hey guys, about Binance, what do you think will happen next for the exchange, the BNB and its smart chain with its persecutions? Now, guys, you have to be warned right here. Tone is a Bitcoin maximalist. And I've been telling you, if you want to learn charts, go to Tone. But at the same time, get ready to get your ass handed to you when it comes to other tokens, because he's very blatant and honest about how he feels about other tokens. And while I think you should listen to this perspective, just be warned before you unsubscribe and hit the dislike button. Because I love Tone, and I'm more of a Bitcoin maximalist than anything else. I'm not a maximalist, but I'm more of a Bitcoin guy, if you will. So Tone, sorry man for that little warning for the audience here, but hey, what about Binance? What do you think will happen next for the exchange? The BNB as its smart chain is in persecutions.
Yeah. Before I forget, I want to give a shout out to one of your someone in the live chat, Hidden Person. Thank you for the comment. Tone Vays changed my life. He doesn't even know it.
That's probably further down. I haven't got to that part yet, but yeah. Okay, cool.
Thanks, man.
You've changed a lot of people's life. You changed my life, dude.
So, look, Binance, Binance has done, they built a very user-friendly exchange. I mean, I've never used it, but this is what I hear, right? So, Binance has built an exchange people like to use. My problem with Binance is that I believe they cheated in order to achieve that by creating a BNB utility token that they printed out of thin air, ignored regulation, broke security laws. We can debate whether security laws shouldn't exist. We can debate whether the US SEC is evil or not and whether they should or shouldn't exist. But they do exist, and I believe that I believe in the Howey test. I believe that security laws should. I don't think they're necessarily bad. So my problem with Binance is that token allowed them to cheat. Kraken doesn't have a token. What do you call it? Bitstamp doesn't have a token. Other exchanges don't have tokens. We've had exchanges for 300 years, maybe more, since Amsterdam, back in 1400, 1500, something like that. I forgot. Maybe 1700. I forgot when that exchange launched.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. The history of the stock market eludes me at the moment. And somehow all of these exchanges were able to build and operate on not because they printed their own money, which is what Binance did.
Right.
So that's my problem with Binance. Now, what's going to happen on the regulation side? Well, it's all different, right? Like, I'm sure the United States is very unhappy with the fact that the Binance token has broken security laws. Thailand is unhappy with the fact that Binance was soliciting Thai people for trading derivatives without being licensed with the Thailand authorities. The UK is angry for God knows what reason, right? Like, so all of these jurisdictions are mad at Binance for completely different reasons. And Binance, because they printed billions of dollars for themselves, are in the same position as Ripple, where they can afford very good lawyers. And they can now go to court and try to fight these things. And like in the case of the Ripple lawsuit, it's really kind of upsetting. On the one hand, I know that Ripple is all kinds of evil, and that token is a total scam, and someone should hold them accountable. At the same time, it would be very interesting if Ripple completely wins that case and destroys all the power of the SEC. Oh,
my dog just. Sorry about that.
Taking down your plants. At the same time, like if Ripple completely gets away with what they did and completely destroys all of the SEC's power, what does that mean? Does that mean that all the scammers get to get away with it? Does it mean that it's a better free market? I don't know, right? So I don't know who I want to root for here. Do I want Ripple to win so that there is no government oversight and anyone can just print their own money? Maybe that's a better world. I don't believe that it is. At the same time, I'm always angry at how the government enforces their rules. It's always done with an agenda. It's always done for their own personal gain. It's very like the SEC very rarely does things for the good of the people. They usually do things for the good of themselves or for the good of the government. So it's a big moral dilemma here. So I don't really know what's going to happen with Binance on the legal side. It depends how much they want to fight it. Does Binance really care about trading in Thailand? Is it worth it? How many is it? Like the 100 or 200 traders in Thailand, is it worth Binance spending $10 million defending it, where the Thailand authorities just say, you know what, screw this, yeah. There's no court, you lost. So we'll see which way they go.
Binance is also set up as in franchises. They're all franchises that they're actually set up, so they've actually made it in a way so they can be more. My dog is like freaking out. He's like coming and hiding under the desk. All right. So thoughts on people claiming Ethereum is the future and it has more use cases than BTC and it will pass BTC. That's by Escanor.
I don't see a world how that's even remotely possible. So Ethereum has one and only one use case. It's a platform to create scams. That is its only use case. 99.9% of anything that has ever been created on top of Ethereum has been scams. Maybe there is 1% of useful things that have gotten created on Ethereum. You can probably count them on one, maybe two hands. And that's almost it. Ethereum is also not scalable technology. Ethereum is also pretty centralized technology. Now, Ethereum has proved over the years, this is where I've been wrong. I thought people were smarter. And I always thought that a platform whose only real utility is to create a way to create scams wasn't gonna survive into the future, but it has. So if you need a platform to create your unregulated token, you should do it on a more secure blockchain. Now, Bitcoin did not have this ability at first because Bitcoin's priority was scaling. Ethereum's priority wasn't scaling. Ethereum's priority is to give you the ability to create your token. And this is what led to the Ethereum blockchain now being over 8 terabytes of size, where good luck finding a person that has the entire history of the blockchain inside their node. Bitcoin decided to prioritize decentralization over the utility functionality of allowing you the ease of use of building a token on top of that blockchain. Now, because Ethereum has shown the world that this functionality is perhaps desired, I'm not going to say needed, but desired, Bitcoin now has this functionality in the form of the liquid sidechain. Now, a lot of people will scream that the liquid sidechain isn't fully decentralized, but neither is Ethereum. But the liquid sidechain scales much better. So you can now go ahead and create that token on top of the liquid sidechain if you want to. Not many people are doing it for several reasons. One, the liquidity is not yet there. Two, very few people are familiar with how to do it because there isn't this media machine and as many tutorials. And three, building your scam on top of Bitcoin requires you to actually understand Bitcoin. And those that understand Bitcoin tend to be a little morally, I was about to use the word superior, but that's a bad word. Tend to be a little bit on the opposite line of the moral view of what they want to do with their life. And that's why you have a lot less people creating these tokens on the liquid side chain on top of Bitcoin. And liquid isn't even the only side chain that will allow you to create your token. There's also RGB. There's also Rootstock. I'm not a huge fan of Rootstock because Rootstock has their own token where RGB and Liquid do not. Now, Liquid has its own token the way a casino has its own token, where you walk into a casino, you give them dollars, and they give you a stable coin to those dollars, right? So Liquid does have a Liquid token, but it's completely backed and pegged to Bitcoin. So no new token is being created. It's just being converted into a Liquid token for the purposes of usage, the way you use casino poker chips or casino chips to play blackjack instead of putting dollar bills or $10 bills on the blackjack table. That's kind of how it works. So, so the people that are creating these tokens on top of Ethereum, they don't actually need nor want decentralization. They just want an environment that works for them. So like decentralization doesn't matter. If the decentralization mattered, they wouldn't be using Ethereum, right? Because the DAO in 2016 proved that Ethereum is not decentralized at all. A couple of guys just make decisions. So the functionality for you to do what you do will exist on top of Bitcoin. It will be a more stable layer because I trust those developers better. It'll certainly be the underlying asset is going to be more stable, right? The Ethereum transaction prices are through the roof. The Ethereum currency is way more volatile. The Ethereum currency is not needed. You don't need all these currencies. So my view is that all of this stuff is going to eventually migrate on top of Bitcoin. So that's why I don't see a future for Ethereum at all. And Ethereum has other competition. And Bitcoin side chains is one of them.
Someone said we're brothers here, and I found you my long-lost brother, probably because of the haircut and the...
Yeah.
All right, I'm trying to... Just for argument's sake, somebody's asking how much do you think if Bitcoin's going to go to 100,000, how high Ethereum's going to go? If you want your answer, if you don't, you don't. It's up to you.
I mean, I have no idea, right?
Yes.
Like, but here's what I do know. If these altcoins or shitcoins, Ethereum included in that list, if they are going up faster than Bitcoin in a bull market, that means that we are not ready for Bitcoin, like for that hyper Bitcoinization, and the crash is coming. Like the big crash of 2017 and that painful 2+ year time of pain, that happened mostly because of the shitcoins. And if the shitcoins are rising faster than Bitcoin on the way up, expect a lot more pain when the bubble hits. Now, if Bitcoin is getting some exit velocity like a rocket, and Bitcoin is rising and money from all these shitcoins is going into Bitcoin, that means Bitcoin is not only becoming a store of value, but is also becoming a currency. And the faster Bitcoin can become a currency, the more stable it will be going forward, the more people will be using it, and the more of a circular economy we have, and the less likely it is to crash in price. So it depends on, I'm not going to guess how high Ethereum is going to go. I'm also just waiting for Ethereum to just stall and stop functioning, right? Like, and then it's not going to go anywhere. Like Ethereum can go to zero tomorrow. Technically, so can Bitcoin, but the probability of Bitcoin trending towards zero tomorrow is so much lower than the probability of Ethereum trending towards zero tomorrow. And this is why I say that Bitcoin is the only investment grade asset in the crypto space. You can gamble and trade and speculate on whatever you like. Dogecoin, whatever you like. Go and speculate, go and trade. But as far as putting it in a cold storage wallet for your kids to use in the future, the only one is Bitcoin. I would never recommend anyone lock up their Ethereum for 2 to 3 years at this point.
And SafeMoon, let's be serious, and SafeMoon, of course.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on the EU banning private wallets?
I mean, the West is really becoming a communist state, and it's really depressing. So they can ban it. I mean, look how well the banning of growing a cannabis plant has worked out over the last 40 years. And banning a private wallet is a lot harder. I mean, banning a private wallet is going to be harder than banning pirated movies and songs. The only reason why pirated movies and songs is not as big of a problem today as it was a decade ago is because, legal means have realized that if we price this stuff cheaper and we give people better quality of the music and movies, we make it cheap enough, we make it convenient enough, we make it at such good quality that they'll be willing to pay the $5 or $10 a month instead of struggling to download and pirate it. So the way you fight pirated movies and songs is not to ban them, but to compete with them.
Yeah.
So banning the use of private wallets is silly.
And impossible.
And it's not going to work, and it's going to be impossible, right? Now, you can compete with them. How do you compete with them? Well, you stop confiscating people's money.
Custody, banking custody, stuff like that.
Right. Like, I'm trying to send a wire from myself to myself, and I can't do it. Like, this is the banking system, and this is why Bitcoin exists. So every time someone has a problem of sending money from their own bank to their own bank in a different jurisdiction, this is what makes them like saying, why the hell do I even need a bank? So yeah, it'll be completely irrelevant.
Thoughts on claims being made that because China banned Bitcoin, mining has gone down, and for BTC to sustain its value, mining is essential. I know you can answer this one. And if we can transition into the why Bitcoin is the only decentralized asset at this point, right after you answer my question, I would really, really appreciate it.
Sure. So yeah, China banned mining, and all the miners are leaving China. So the hash rate of Bitcoin dropped significantly because these mining machines are currently somewhere on a ship being moved into other parts of the world, mostly the West, Europe and the US. Now, Europe is now talking about banning proof of work mining as well, because these Western governments want to be more like China. They are looking at China and they're seeing the kind of control China has over their humans or slaves, whichever way you like to call it. And the Western governments want nothing less. So they are thinking of doing the same. We will see how that works out for them. But all that mining equipment that has come offline is going to come back online in other parts of the world. And when it does, the Bitcoin hash rate will once again go up. So I'm not really too concerned about that. I'm actually kind of interested in plugging my old miners back in, because now there's a lot less competition for mining. Probably be a lot easier for some guy at home to buy a couple of machines. You can buy them on the cheap if these companies have gone out of business and they have to ship out hundreds of thousands of machines. So I don't see that as a big issue. But what was the other part of the question?
Well, I want you to explain. A lot of people ask me, especially SafeMoon people with a squeaky voice. They keep on saying, why is Bitcoin the only... Okay, here's my question. Why is Bitcoin the only decentralized cryptocurrency? And I remember you explaining it with a triangle. It would be cool if you could pull that up. But if not, if you can just explain it, because people don't understand this.
Yeah, so if you go to my website, tonevays.com, and you click on blog, the last article I wrote is explaining Bitcoin's decentralization. And this was the triangle. There's also presentations of it. So to me, Bitcoin's decentralization is threefold. And you can apply these three elements to your project or any project you have invested money in, thinking that it's decentralized. Ask yourself three questions. How is it being coded? How is it being mined? And can you run a node? Are you capable in participating in its decentralization? Now, if your project has no mining, 1/3 of maximum decentralization has been removed. Mining is one of these tools that has split code and nodes. Back in the day, a mining node was a node. The only nodes were mining nodes. Now they've split. That actually added decentralization to the equation. It makes Bitcoin harder to attack because you can't just attack the nodes, you also have to attack the mining. And if you only attack the mining, the nodes can stop you from altering something, okay? So when we look at the code of Bitcoin, there's not that much research being done. All the coding development of Bitcoin is public. You can see the names. Well, it's hard for me to zoom in on this chart, but if you grab that picture on your own, you can do it. So these are all the developers of the Bitcoin code, like the more popular developers of the Bitcoin code. So you can see how many eyes, how many people are coding Bitcoin. Now, I'm not going to say that Bitcoin has the best and the smartest developers. And I'm not going to say that Bitcoin has the most developers. There are more developers on the Ethereum network than on the Bitcoin network. Your altcoin number 400 down the market cap chart could have the smartest developer in the history of humanity, but it's just one of them, right? But Bitcoin has the best combination of lots of developers that are considered incredible engineers in the blockchain coding, right? So that combination of many high quality developers all checking each other's work so that the code is being stable. That code builds out this giant infrastructure. And here is the liquid sidechain, which is there to compete with Ethereum. This one little thing, okay? This one little thing can compete with Ethereum, but this is the entire Bitcoin ecosystem. And where's Lightning? Again, you got to find these Lightning right here. Lightning is there to compete with things like Litecoin, because Litecoin was there because Bitcoin couldn't scale. Well, now Bitcoin can scale, right? So you can go onto these edges. For example, Lightning Network can give you private messaging. Also, things like Taproot can give you additional privacy. all these other things. Like here's the privacy layers coming in on top of Bitcoin. So these guys, like CoinJoin, is there to compete with the Monero coin, right? So every one of these altcoins that are claiming they do X, that one little feature better than Bitcoin. Well, guess what? There's going to be this one little side thing of Bitcoin that's going to do it better, and the base layer is going to be stable, and it's going to be Bitcoin, and it's only going to be one currency. Here's your smart contract layer. You know, it's actually
it's coming out with Taproot, right?
Taproot is here, yeah. So people forget that Bitcoin itself is a smart contract. Like the concept of smart contracts have been really like distorted in order to sell the insanity of Ethereum. But in any case, so this is the development of Bitcoin. Who's developing it? How many eyes are in it? And here's a great statement. Lucas Nunzi, who made that chart, great guy. He wrote the following: innovation in Bitcoin requires creativity, patience, and perhaps most importantly, ego minimization. Okay, so every single person that has created an altcoin has an unreasonably huge ego that doesn't allow him to contribute positively to Bitcoin. So if your ego is too big and you can't work with people that are probably smarter than you to help them make Bitcoin better, you create an altcoin where you are the ruler because your ego didn't allow you to work with other smart people. That's basically the description of every single leader of every altcoin. So after that, we go to mining. And mining is currently done in pools. When the latest software on creating blocks from pools gets used by the entire mining ecosystem, each individual miner inside a pool will have, a greater ability to build their blocks instead of the pool deciding on building the blocks. So mining is going to get more decentralized itself, and mining can just move around the world.
Gotcha.
You can pair Bitcoin's mining to the mining of any other altcoin. Bitcoin mining is way more decentralized, and if your project doesn't even have mining, it has less decentralization, not more. And finally, we come to nodes, perhaps the most important part. Can you run a node? Can you validate your own transactions? Can you maintain the history of your decentralized network in your laptop? How simple is that? Very difficult for Ethereum. How many of you run a node of your altcoin project? And a lot of you don't, okay? You have to, if you want to participate in Bitcoin's decentralization and help, run your own node, validate your own transactions. So these are the things that make Bitcoin decentralized. And when you start comparing these things piece by piece to other projects, it becomes completely silly. Bitcoin SV, for example, are talking about 1 gigabyte blocks. 1 gigabyte blocks. Good luck storing that in your laptop, right? So the only person that will run a node is one guy, Calvin Aaron, Craig Wright, their node, one node, okay? Same thing with Ripple. Ripple has one node that matters because they control the development. Ripple has absolutely no mining, so decentralization is down to coding and nodes. Well, one company is doing the coding, that's Ripple Labs. So who cares how many nodes there are? The only node that matters is the Ripple Labs node. So there's one node of consequence, and there's a few developers from one company of consequence. It's a completely centralized database. And you just go on down.
Yeah. That's really cool, man. And that's why also that answers the question why Tone Vays is a Bitcoin maximalist. Someone asked that as well. Someone's just saying right here, Coin Metro has a token, and is doing that. He's saying that because I am the head of marketing for Coin Metro, by the way. But Coin Metro, Julian, is also a fully regulated and licensed exchange in Europe. And there's other things that we don't do, like 100x leverage for fuck's sake. You know, so we
Right, but
are very
also-
careful.
Yeah, but Paul, like your expertise isn't coding, your expertise isn't running
It's
a
marketing,
mine,
man. It's it.
right? And running a node doesn't pay you any money.
Yeah.
Paul's expertise is marketing, and marketing is a job like any other job. You try to do marketing for ethical companies, and you try to find a job with the most ethical company that's willing to pay you for your skill set. You know, like I don't blame an engineer for going to work and develop a shitcoin if that shitcoin is paying him money to do so, because Bitcoin mostly relies on volunteers, right? And it's no different than how many amazing developers are there working for the government and the NSA that are breaking our encryption. You know, what do? Like if you're a genius developer and the CIA is giving you more money than Goldman Sachs, you know, you're going to go work for the CIA. Goldman Sachs gives you more money, you go work for Goldman Sachs. If you started developing on Bitcoin early enough and you saved enough Bitcoin and now you're Bitcoin rich, you're going to work on Bitcoin the rest of your life for free because you're rich, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't always, I mean, there's jobs. I mean, what I hate is shilling.
Yeah.
I hate shilling.
Yeah.
People that promote a scam for their own personal gain,
Yeah.
that I disrespect.
For example, people that watch this channel know I very seldom talk about CoinMetro and also Mintable, because I also work at Mintable in higher management. We just raised 13 million. It's a Mark Cuban company. But yeah, it's CoinMetro. I think, in my opinion, I would not work for a scam exchange. I had many offers. I used to work for Tone Vays, but Bitcoin went too high.
No, it's the opposite. Tone Vays wasn't making enough money.
But Bitcoin started going up too much as well at the same time. So I was getting paid in Bitcoin, which ended up being a very different... Anyway, we could talk about it another time. But yeah, it's a very big difference. And CoinMetro is fully transparent. It's a very different exchange. Anyway, I don't want to talk about CoinMetro anymore right now. It's Tone Vays' show here. So let me see here. Somebody talking about how much BNB he has. We don't care. Dog was a supporter of BNB. Didn't like the bad talking about BNB. No, my dog actually literally collects Dogecoin. He used to even have his own little address where he used to collect Dogecoin for treats and stuff like that. But that was just fun.
Yeah. So someone is saying Ripple now controls less than 20% of validators. It doesn't matter. Ripple can control one validator. They can control 0.1% of all validators. The point is, Ripple Labs are the only developers of the code. So they can change whatever they like. And because they can change whatever they like in the code, and there is no mining, the changes in their code will go into their node. So as long as they have one validator and that validator approves the coding change of their developers, every other validator is going to have to update their code to approve the same transaction. So that's why it doesn't matter how many validators there are. Ripple is a complete centralized system, and it's all just a big joke that other validators actually matter. They don't.
And not only that, about people saying about the price going to $100, $1,000 in a big reset. Not only that is that almost impossible with market cap, but it's not to there. If it was supposed to do that, the price should be kept low. So I don't think it's going to happen.
Ripple, a non-Ripple validator is no different than my PayPal account. I am a validator of the money in my PayPal account, right? So your Ripple validator is no different than you, a user of your PayPal account, right? You approve a PayPal transaction, right? But at the end of the day, Ripple can change, PayPal can take that money out. So it's the same way. It's irrelevant how many Ripple validators there are. If tomorrow Ripple Labs decides to alter a transaction in the Ripple network, it'll instantly be done, and I can easily prove it. Like if there was a public announcement tomorrow that Iran and North Korea have decided to start using the Ripple decentralized network for all their future financial transactions, you will see how quickly the Ripple system alters to make sure that doesn't happen, right? Like it's a very simple, like just if I ever got to interview the CEO of Ripple, that would be my question. Like, what are you gonna do if Iran and North Korea announce that they are not and start using Ripple for all of their financial means? And he can't answer that question because he'll prove in 30 seconds why Ripple is no different than PayPal.
Yeah. So someone is saying, Unifrog is saying Bitcoin has not scaled though. Yes, it has. Please stop listening to idiots saying that. If Bitcoin has scaled multiple times, Tone, sorry, I don't know. That's your little thing.
I mean, there's no such thing as has scaled. It's Bitcoin has done everything it needed to do as it was needed. A lot of people scream fire. People are screaming that, I mean, I don't want to turn this into like a global warming thing, right? But since I was a little kid, it was all, the planet is getting hot and Florida is going to be underwater imminently, things, like, no, we don't need to, not build an airplane because you think it's going to go underwater, right? So things build out slowly, and Bitcoin is scaling. What you want is you want to increase the probability of Bitcoin's price going towards zero in order for you to make an instant transaction. So your desire to have scalability of Bitcoin is outweighed by the security of Bitcoin to actually sustain that scalability for your kids. And if you cared about Bitcoin scaling, not for you, but for your kids, you would be more patient and let smart people do their job. So Bitcoin is scaling and the Lightning Network is functioning. Is it functioning to your personal liking? Probably not. Will it ever function to your personal liking? Who the hell knows? And the Bitcoin system doesn't actually care. As long as the scalability and privacy and all these other Bitcoin features are being built out in a safest possible way. Now, move fast and break things may be great for your Twitter posts, but it's not exactly great for people's life savings.
Yeah.
The move fast and break things Silicon Valley model doesn't apply to a person's life savings. And it's not even that. It's not just life savings. It's literally saving humanity by removing the biggest element of government control over the people, being money. So if the ability to separate the control of money from your overlords is not as important to you as making a coffee payment, then, I don't know, go use some scam coin and lose your life savings when they move fast and break things. So what else can I tell you? Lightning Network is becoming more useful, and eventually everyone's going to be using it. I don't know. It's probably a year away from being a year away from being a year away. Some people love it already. Some people that always hated it will never like it. Most people are somewhere in between.
Yeah. Are there any coins that are not affected by BTC going down or up? Yeah, probably the dollar. Liquid is governed by its federation of members. That's a comment, not a question, but do you have anything to say on that?
Right,
or?
Sure. So it's a trade-off. Everything is a trade-off. So Liquid doesn't have mining. The reason why Liquid doesn't have mining is because Liquid doesn't create an altcoin. Now, not having mining makes the system less decentralized, right? Go back to the triangle. There are three elements to your decentralization: mining, coding, and running a node, okay? We eliminate mining from the Liquid sidechain. So it has a bunch of nodes that are validating the transactions. It's called federated, So federated is the next best thing we have to create decentralization without some elements of decentralization without mining. So is the liquid sidechain not as secure from a decentralization perspective as underlying Bitcoin? The answer is yes, of course. But that trade-off comes with significantly improved privacy, some improved scaling. Blocks in the liquid sidechain are every minute on the minute. They're not random like Bitcoin. They're every minute. The size of those blocks is 10 times bigger. I believe, even though they're every minute, or I think they're the same size, but it's every minute. So instead of every 10 minutes, so that becomes 10 times more volume. The cost of those blocks is denominated in 10 times cheaper units. Very few people are using it, so transactions are incredibly cheap. There is very good privacy built into the liquid sidechain, right? What actually matters to you? If a private transaction is what's important, then the liquid sidechain gives you that private transaction. If decentralization and unstoppability matters to you, then the Bitcoin network is what's important. Now, until there is a single example of the federated model blocking you from getting your transaction in, it's hard to say that, well, there's censorship there. Now, once again, it's a trade-off. The nodes can technically collude and block a transaction, but there was so much privacy added into the liquid sidechain that these nodes don't know what your transaction is. So how do you expect this giant system whose only job is to remain honest and not block transactions? They don't know what your transaction is, and your assumption is that somehow they're going to block you and destroy this 3-year project that they all wanted to build. So most of the node operators in that federated sidechain most of them are exchanges, most of them are Bitcoin companies that want the liquid sidechain to succeed. Otherwise, they would not have wasted all those resources building it. So you spend 3 years on resources building it. You have made yourself one of these nodes to process these transactions of a system you built because it's needed and useful. And now the one thing you want to do with it is destroy it. like the concept of that happening is completely silly, right? Like they built this thing for it to work, not to destroy it. And the transaction in it are pretty damn private, and you may or may not have a use for it. And so it's just, it's just like the Lightning Network. People demonizing it. Well, Lightning transactions aren't real Bitcoin. Yes, they are. You don't want them to be because you've invested in some scam, and Lightning removes your ability to win that lot, to cash in that lottery ticket.
Yeah, if you're looking at the screen right now, I don't know if you can see, but there's like a FUD thing that I put my dog, like FUD because for lightning and stuff. Let's see if we can answer some of these questions fast because I know you don't have much time left, man. Are we in a super cycle, Bitcoin?
I mean, I guess so. I mean, I think we're in this current 4-year cycle, and each 4-year cycle has an upswing and a downswing. I think we're still in the upswing part of this 4-year cycle between the halvings. And I think it'll top out with a year or so before the halving. And then as the next halving comes, we're going to start another 4-year cycle.
Nice. Someone's saying in the name of Bitcoin, amen. Why governments want to tank Bitcoin?
Well, Bitcoin creates a lot of problems for the governments. On the higher level, it gives people more control of their money. The easiest way to control a person is by controlling their money. It's the easiest way. The more independent people are, the less control someone has over them. And controlling their money is one of the best means governments have of controlling people. And it all boils down to that. KYC AML laws are all about control. I don't believe it's about crime, it's about control. I think the AML KYC laws are a plague on humanity and freedom. It's all about control over the people. The money creation is all about control over the people. And anytime you create technology that gives government less control over the people, they need something to take that back. I mean, I think that governments are loving what they've done to people because of the COVID scare. They have now removed people's freedom of travel in the world. They are putting in vaccine passports. They are putting in, they're making your ability to travel harder. They're basically neutered your ability to get up and leave and live anywhere you like with more controls. So this is how governments keep you as a slave to their border by putting in more restrictions on your freedom of movement. And money is part of that.
And also, just to make a point there, and it doesn't matter whether COVID was real or not, governments will always find a way to take advantage of situations. It's happened throughout history, because I am obviously someone that has a little bit of opposite views when it comes to COVID, but I do agree that governments always use and take advantage of things so they can pass their own agenda. And that's a fact, it has been proven, has happened, and will happen over and over again.
Right. Like, we're not here to debate.
Yeah, exactly.
Was COVID created in a lab, or is it natural?
Maybe yes, maybe no. It's been COVID.
Was it released on purpose, or was it an accident? Like we're not here arguing that.
Yeah.
We're just here that the governments are taking advantage of the COVID situation, and the more they can restrict your freedom of movement, the better it is for them, because they keep you as a slave inside the border. This is what North Korea does incredibly well.
Yes.
And other countries would love to implement North Korean ability to keep you inside a certain geographical location and track your movement as much as they can. And the COVID's existence has given them more power to do that.
I agree somewhat, and I'll end it with this. I personally think it's more of them getting you used to certain things so they can pass other things in the future. For example, a bank account with a chip where you can't buy or sell without it, with centralized currencies where they can click a button if they don't like you protesting, track you, and it gets biblical after that. So we agree on
people are saying COVID denier. At no point did we say that, right?
Yeah.
We're just saying that the existence of COVID has given governments the ability to control you more.
Yes.
And if you don't see that, then that is a huge problem, and why society is slowly draining down the toilet.
Yeah, and imagine, I'm somebody that wears masks. I'm very careful. I have cancer. I have to. But also, I was doing that before. I know people that have died, but that does not mean I agree with certain measures that are taken. For example, in Greece, it's said now that they get special. You have to pay more in a cafe if you haven't been vaccinated, or if you haven't been. There's clubs only for vaccinated. I mean, that just causes a diverse of people, and I think that's bullshit. Anyway, and not only that, they give you 150 euros if you go get vaccinated if you're over 20 to 25 years old. Which it's like they're paying you to get vaccinated. And I think, just make it mandatory. But that's just stupid. It makes things worse than what they are. Anyway, Quant, what do you think of it as a project? Is it good?
What?
Quant. You probably don't know if you know. Okay. Something about BitBoy Crypto. I don't think Tone cares what he says. I like BitBoy Crypto. But it's nothing to do with right now. Tone needs to watch his tone. Oh my God. At how he talks, he has no idea. I'm going to say this just because I know you can answer this. Well, he's talking, Bitcoin is 100% trackable. He never said it isn't, and it's traceable. But Tone, please go ahead. I think you can defend yourself on this one.
Well, there's a couple of things there. Bitcoin is, if you don't use Bitcoin properly, yeah, it's easier to track than if you do use it properly, right? So it's, but also, believing that you have, blindly believing that your Monero transactions can be tracked is also silly. 99% of the time, people get in trouble for using a cryptocurrency is not because the cryptocurrency is trackable. It's because you made a transaction with a government agent. That's how you get caught anyway. And yeah, Bitcoin was designed this way on purpose because otherwise you don't know how many Bitcoins there are in the world. Monero has a lot of problems. And if you don't want your transactions to be tracked, start using the liquid sidechain. Again, there is other means to achieve what you're looking for without putting your net worth at stake. And if you are not saving money in your not trackable currency, then that currency's value will trend towards zero. There is absolutely no long-term value to the greatest velocity of money currency, which is the Venezuelan bolivar. The Venezuelan bolivar is an amazing medium of exchange. The reason why it's amazing is because the moment you get your hands on it, you immediately want to spend it. You don't want to hold it. You don't want to hold it for a day, okay? So what good is a currency you don't want to hold? And that's why these other private currencies, as they call them, make no sense because they're always in competition with each other. No one wants to hold them long term because they lose value. So what good are they? You're better off spending your time and effort figuring out how to make those Bitcoin transactions private if you need them to be private. And eventually, they'll be easier to use. Or spend some money and, go sponsor a developer and give them one job. Go help Bitcoin be more private. Like help, don't hurt the network.
Do you think Cardano is a scam coin?
What is?
A Cardano, ADA. Charles Hoskinson.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. It's a shit coin, like everything else. Yeah. It competes with Ethereum. So yeah.
Do you think other tokens and coins can coexist?
I mean, they can coexist, but look, you're free to do whatever you like. I'm just here to explain to you why you don't want to store any money in them. I mean, of course, things can coexist. Trying to think of examples, right? Or trying to think of a decent analogy. I mean, what's their use, right? Like if you can make, if Lightning scales the Bitcoin network, what's the point of using Litecoin? Like Litecoin was there for micropayments of Bitcoin, but if Bitcoin has micropayments,
I agree with that. Yeah.
Litecoin can coexist, but what the hell's the point? What is it good for? It isn't. So they'll exist. I mean, there's nothing there to force them to go away. But the free market will make them go away. Otherwise, the world is more inefficient.
Agreed. Please ask him about Richard Hart and Hex, what he thinks. It's online.
I mean, it's a scam. It was a scam from day one. And what else do you want me to say?
Let me just keep on going. Texas
Richard Hart spent years in the crypto space creating a reputation for the purposes of scamming you with that reputation. And I've had Richard Hart on my channel back in the day. I've always believed in people's second chances and third chances. I have looked up Richard Hart's history. Richard Hart's history was shady. And, based on what he was talking about in the Bitcoin space, it's maybe people change. Maybe Bitcoin makes them honest. Maybe they've ready to, be honest people and moral people. And then, no, they built this reputation in Bitcoin space to only then print their own monopoly money and become a billionaire by scamming others.
Texas happened. I'm ignoring all your comments. If you have a question, ask it. If not, if you're going to be negative, I'm just going to ban you. Just letting you know. Let me see what else we have here. Love your dog. So do I. Asking when your next interview is with Richard Hart. Probably at some show somewhere. Two best mobile software wallet, please. That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't like answering that question. Like, that's the thing. There is no best. It's all subjective.
Okay.
You don't want to use, I mean, you definitely don't want to use like a Bitcoin.com wallet. Samurai's been respected and is pretty good. Blockstream Green has been pretty good. Exodus has been pretty good. Edge wallet has been around for a while. It's also pretty good. That one does have shit coins in it that you can store. It's really your preference. Yeah. Just stick to a more reputable one with reputation and a history.
We have JP, the CEO of Exodus, on the channel in a few weeks, so that might be a good segue to present that. How did you like the Miami Bitcoin conference? Heard the man handled the woman on stage. What? Did I miss something?
I was there. I wasn't a speaker. I was just a guest, like the other 10,000 people. I thought it was a little too big, and I prefer smaller events. It was good for Bitcoin. So many people caught COVID from it.
Do we have a decentralized VPN?
Not that I know of. Decentralization is hard, guys. I know every shitcoin creator in the world tells you that decentralization is easy. It is literally almost impossible. It's Bitcoin. That's it.
Yeah. So, Tone, we used it 45 minutes. It's been more than an hour and a half. I want to thank you so much for coming on. I know you did this for me. I know you gave the extra time for me and everything. I do urge everybody to go check out Tone Vays, check out his YouTube channel. Everything's linked down below. Our first interview is linked down below. He's in my book, The Crypto Factor, which you can find out and see more about him and similarities he shares with other greats and pioneers in the industry. Thank you, man. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Is there anything you would like to add before we end this, Tone?
No, thanks for the interview, man. I've known you for a while, met over in Athens. Yeah. And hopefully I'll get to travel again soon.
Man, I would love to see you again, man. We had a lot of fun. I learned a lot, man. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for joining. Please hit that like button if you like this interview. Make sure you check out Tone Vays, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Better, man.